It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by Ray White, the largest real estate and property group in Australasia.
And welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Podcast, available on iHeartRadio and also Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast from. It is a Wednesday morning, the 1st of June for 2022. And if you live in Sydney, you would have noticed the buzz has returned to the CBD. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to be talking to a couple of real estate agents, and they're selling anything from penthouses to quality apartments in the CBD of Sydney. And it seems that the price of this stock isn't going backwards at all. So we'll take a look at that next. But first, let's check out your Wednesday weather around the country.
It's the Main Centre forecast with propertybuyer.com.au.
And let's go to Sydney, expecting a mainly fine sunny day. A little bit of wind around today and expect a high of 15 degrees. Melbourne showers to ease with 12 degrees. Brisbane expecting another fine one with 20. And in Perth, expect a little bit of cloudy patches, but dry, and a high of 19 degrees. Well, jurors deciding the outcome of this massive trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are deep into their deliberations. Well, somebody's going to lose this case, and I suspect this time round it might be Amber Heard who is being sued by Johnny Depp for $50 million. And Heard has countersued, of course, seeking $100 million and claiming that she suffered rampant physical violence and abuse. Yesterday, the jurors came back to the courtroom to ask the judge for clarity of one of more than 40 questions. So they are working through it, and we might just have a decision by the end of this week.
Informing you on real estate. Wake up every morning to the Real Estate Podcast.
Well, it's hard to recognise downtown Sydney CBD from Ghost City during lockdown to now the vibrant cafes and restaurants back open and bringing some of that normality, that vibe returning to the city. And equally, the properties in the CBD, especially penthouses, have a strong demand going on for them. These quality properties are converting into sales in this space. And joining us to talk a little bit more about this is Monika too, who herself finds herself pretty busy with these quality upmarket properties. Good morning, Monika. Why are these properties still performing?
Good morning, Craig. So why the property is still selling is because of the demand. And all our buyers, the high net worth international buyers and local buyers, are still asking for the stock. They're all coming back to the city, enjoying our lifestyle.
Yeah, so you mentioned you sold a couple of penthouses. I think one went for $22 million and the other was $13 million. Now, are these local people buying these properties, or is it a cross mix of interstate/international buyers?
So $22 million penthouse was bought by international buyers. So he is actually based in Sydney, but he travel always, Sydney, Hong Kong, and China. So he just want to buy something to hold on. Once he get a bit older, can come back and stay there. And another, the $13 million one is bought actually by a local buyer. He is Australian and he's got a massive house in eastern suburbs. And I just want to, he hasn't sold yet, but he will be selling that one once he get a little older. And he bought one just for the future investment.
And I mentioned that the city was very unattractive during lockdown, but it's come back from this death of a city in lockdown to having that vibrant feel. And no matter what sort of major city around the world, people always seem drawn, don't they, to the inner lifestyle a metro CBD like a Sydney offers. So all of that is kind of rolled into when you're dealing with these buyers, why they're wanting to move into the CBD.
Oh, wow. I don't know when was the last time you're in city, Craig. The city is full. So if you don't have a booking for restaurants, it's no way you can get in anywhere. So now we have a Vivid, we have all the operas, all the shows are starting, all the seats are booked out because I just been to a couple of shows recently and you can see the restaurants and bars, it's just so exciting. I think Sydney is actually back to life. So which is, the Sydney should be so proud. We are, after all, an international city. We've got so much to offer. So everybody's back to Sydney. So come have a look at, what's happening in the night. It's full.
Yeah. Monika, there are some people that are downsizing, which some people might think, well, how is that possible that they're downsizing? But it very much depends on what they're downsizing from, right?
You are absolutely right. So I just give you a couple of examples. I'm actually searching for a few penthouses for my clients. They just sold their house for $30 million. I have another one at $25 million. And they're both of them from eastern suburbs. And I got another person from Mosman. And they sold their house for $19 million. They're looking for something around about $15 million in the city. I just got nothing much to offer. So these are the downsized people we're talking about. They have done really well for the, large land, large houses, in suburbans. So everybody's come back to the city, looking for penthouse. That's how much demand we have for the penthouses right in the city.
We know the market is changing, it's going a little bit soft, but with these affluent buyers in this price range, it's not really soft at all, is it, in this space?
Not at all. So if you say the market is softened and a lot of, then we're definitely experiencing short of stock, right? So some people, they don't have to sell. Maybe they hold on to the property. But for the high net worth individuals, they're always in a demand of buying. So it's always like a demand and supply. So if you don't have enough supplies and, that would be a problem. Just talking about city penthouses, we have people from upper North Shores, from south, from east, and from, of course, internationally, we're talking about Hong Kong, Singapore, China. So we always have these people around looking for a spacious, special, unique city apartment to buy.
Well, thank you, Monika. It's definitely keeping you busy and probably so for the rest of the year. Let's go right now to Adrian Wilson, also selling quality apartments in Sydney. Good morning, Adrian. Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast.
Good morning, Craig. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Well, I guess it's been a bit of a busy time, and if you've been dealing with buyers who are actually cashed up and have moved out of the CBD and then they've decided that they were missing on something and wanted back in, tell us a little bit about the mindset of these sorts of buyers, because I believe you've come across them.
Absolutely. Definitely what we're noticing at the moment is comebacks. Comebacks are basically buyers who have either left the city or the inner city, Sydney metro area, either gone rural, potentially overseas, or even just relocated into a further out suburb, that are now realizing that now life has kind of returned to a bit more of the normality that we once knew. And so we're actually noticing a lot of these people are actually now wanting to either fully relocate to the city or in a lot of cases wanting a city base to stay maybe 2 or 3 days a week and then spending the rest of the time elsewhere.
I heard recently that you sold a 2-bedroom plus study apartment for around that $3.5 million. Some people might find that eye-watering for a 2-bedroom and study, but tell us a little bit more about that and why that is good buying in this time of the market.
Although 3.55 does seem like an eye-watering price, it's not an untypical range for a property in a premium building in the city with great facilities and in a location which is highly sought after. And if you think the 355 price is eye-watering, we actually sold a 2-bedroom apartment just across the road from that on Macquarie Street for $6.5 million, only 112 square metres.
Wow, that just proves the point, doesn't it? And a lot of these facilities contained in these high-valued apartments, most of these buildings are very well-managed premium spaces, and they have that premium draw card factor, don't they?
They do. Suiting both comebacks and downsizers, or even younger families. We're actually noticing a bit of a trend to younger executive-style families wanting to be in town. So in the building, you have things like concierge, which is great for security and mail and collecting parcels and meeting guests and things like that. Just an extra form of security and safeness there. And I guess on top of that, outside of the building, for instance, if you're on Hyde Park, you can step out the door straight into Hyde Park, which connects through into the botanical gardens. If you're Barangaroo, you've got the waterfront walks. So it's not just about what's behind the door, but it's also about what's outside of the door. It's a really interesting market, as I mentioned, with very different precincts and also a lot of different types of demographics, different types of reasons for buying. Some are lifestyle, some are to live, some are executive people wanting to be close to the city, others are for investment. The range and varying opportunities is pretty good.
All right, well, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Adrian, and I'll let you get on with your Wednesday morning. Thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Podcast.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.